Good morning, Bull Shoals! Or rather, good afternoon. I didn't think of that intro until this afternoon dive. But guess who has two thumbs and is not going to redo the voiceover for the morning dive? This guy. Alright. Looking at this dive profile, we finally went deep. Look at that, down to 69.5. Oh hell, let's round down. Up. Down, round up to go down. 70 feet. Dive time of 48 minutes. Got down to a chilly 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit. And what icons are here? We have the one all the way on the left that looks like a little up, sideways, up again is a deep stop. So I can talk a little bit about the stops now. At the end of every dive, you're supposed to do a 3-minute safety stop. That is, you hover around 15 feet. That's optimal, but anywhere from 20 to 10 is considered okay. And you hang out there for about 3 minutes is how that usually works. Just the idea there is to bleed off some of that extra nitrogen that might be in your body. As it turns out, all the dive research basically comes from the Navy, and it's all guess and check. What I mean by that is it's all experimental. They've learned the limits to people's physiology, I think is the right word, based on experimentation. So all these dive best practices, techniques, all the stops, all the models in the computer for the accumulated nitrogen in your body, where to stop to bleed it off, for how long, etc. All those models are based on experimentation from the Navy, which means there are a lot of guinea pigs, and people undoubtedly pushed themselves to and beyond the limits, got sick, hurt themselves. So all the recreational diving knowledge, you can thank the Navy and their sailors. But back to the dive profile. You can see we have a deep stop, and the thing above that is the deep stop violation. So if you go down to a certain depth, at least on my computer, the deep stop is something that I can turn on and off. I have it turned on. You go down and it'll show up on the screen, hey, it'll give you a ceiling. So it'll say, don't go above this depth for a minute. And it'll sit there and count down on the computer. And I either didn't see it or ignored it due to other circumstances of the dive. And I violated the deep stop. So, not something you want to do in practice. But, knock on wood, so far, no decompression sickness for me. And the cautionary triangle at the end is another tissue level warning. I need to look that up. I'm not quite sure what that means. I do apologize for my phone making noise in the background. I will silence it. So, the temperature graph here looks about what you'd expect it to look like. Deeper you go down, the colder it gets. We get shallower, temperature goes up. Looks like we did a little dip down at the end of the dive. Temperature got chilly, so we probably dipped below a thermocline there. And then we ended the dive, and the temperature ended at a warm 82 degrees on the surface. Looking at the pressure, so you can kind of see here, it's more pronounced here than the last dive, the pressure graph, where the pressure has a more rapid rate of decrease as we go deeper. As I said in the last video, that's because you're breathing denser air, so you're going to bleed off more air in your tank at a faster rate. And in case this isn't clear, this is air tank pressure. This is not water pressure. So you can see the scale on the right. A full tank, a full aluminum tank, which is what I use most of the time, is considered about 3,000 psi. I actually started a little less than that. Looks like I started at about 2,700. So got a little gypped on the airfill last time, but not terrible. It is what it is. And I ended with, what is that? About 970, 969. That's what it says. You want to plan to end each dive with 500 psi. At least that's conservative diving. If you do that, you'll be safe. But you can end dives with less than 500 psi. I've done it before, but that's not something you want to make a habit of. Anyway, let's get into the footage. Ooh, started this dive off underwater. Sorry folks, no descent here. I'm pretty much watching these videos for the first time, just offering some commentary off the cuff. This dive has a lot of segments to it, so there's going to be quite a piecemeal job putting these all together. So far we're checking out some rocks. Ooh, there's a fish. Hey, fishy. He doesn't look too terrified. If you remember from the dive profile, look at me looking at my compass like I know where I'm going. We dropped pretty quick, I think, from the dive profile as I recall. This still looks pretty shallow. I assume we're dropping into the abyss of the Shoals Lake. Maybe there's a kraken down there. Alright, considerably deeper as we move ahead into the dive. Things are darker, things are greener. The lights have come out. Those rocks aren't going to illuminate themselves. Yeah, especially this deep. We're not finding any fish. I'm pretty sure you can take that to the bank. Turns out all the fish are sissies, and they like hanging out in the cold, in the warm water, rather. Maybe that's where they get the term sunfish from. This is pretty dark down here, as you probably know or have heard. You start to lose light as you go down in the water pretty quickly. You lose the red end of the spectrum first, so you get down, 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 and there go your reds, your oranges, your yellows, and your greens, blues, and purples are the only thing left. And I remember in Cozumel, I've been down past 100 feet, and all you see is blue until you pull your light out, and you can actually see some color. Oh, I found one of these rare but always exciting beer cans. Check it out. Oh, it's washed out. I'm pretty sure those mountains were blue. I was trying to get that on camera, but I didn't realize at the time. You can kind of see it there. Those mountains are blue. That was a delicious brewski down at, where were we? 70 feet? Oh. Actually, not too cloudy in that one. Alright. Those mountains shouldn't have been blue. It got down to, what, 65 degrees? That's not as cold as the Rockies. Maybe they just look blue because of the aforementioned color loss. Everything looks blue at this depth. And, well, green in this water. Kinda murky. Kinda dark. It's probably about time to turn that light back on. I'm probably struggling putting the can in my BCD pocket. I have a hell of a time working those zippers underwater. I wish they were a little easier to operate. It's pretty much a two-handed job, which annoys me, and you can't see anything. The mask is like tunnel vision. You know, I look down, I can barely see anything, so you gotta do a lot on feel, dexterity, and that is amplified by 10. The difficulty is when you got gloves on, especially the thick gloves that I'm wearing. But you dive more and get used to it. Whoa! It got dark down here. We got to be close to every bit of 70 feet now. Not a place you want your light to give out. And what do you know? It's rocks. And I think clamshells? They have had a problem with invasive species, zebra mussels, I think, all throughout the Midwest. Yeah, they've got signs at the marina that say to really wash your boat, drain it, scrub it well. They don't want you, going into one lake, pulling up these zebra mussels, and coming into this lake and dropping them off. I think they've made a strong push to try to get rid of them. I'm kind of making a lot of this up. What's in the stump? Nothing in the stump. I'm trying to recall, not making it up, I'm trying to recall conversations I've had with people who know better than me, so I could be remembering some of this incorrectly. And I'm not even sure those are zebra mussel shells. In fact, it wouldn't really make sense that they're this deep, because I think they like to hang out around the shore, but anyway. I told myself I had to stop saying anyway. Zebra mussels or not, in this video, they're a problem. Don't bring them to the lake. Wonder if it would be better to do some kind of fancy transition in between these scenes instead of just jumping right into it. Give it some real professional production value. I don't know. That sounds like just a tad more work than I want to do. Maybe I'll try it out. Let's go all out on one of these videos. Do some color correction. Do some transitions. We already got these incredible voiceovers. And not much to see here in the video. Hey, I gotta talk about something. The only thing we're looking at here is rocks. And more rocks. And green rocks. But the visibility is better, which I will take. Especially between 70 and 50 feet. I mean, if it's clear at 70, no fish. A little warmer, hazy at 50, still no fish. Give me 70 feet every single time, baby. I'm checking out my computer here for a while. Wonder what I'm doing there. I think I just caught the depth at the top. There we go. That says 57, I think. Yes, 57. I think I saw 75 minutes left on airtime. So the depth, that's 57 feet. I need to use American units. Somebody tells me 20 meters. I don't know how deep that is. Everything in Cozumel is standard units. Or, no, what is it? Metrics. Yeah, so I was halfway right last video. First of all, let's admire the vintage Bud Light can. Look at that. That thing has got to be 20 years old at least. I was maybe 10 when Bud Light had that logo. I'd have to look it up. It definitely came from my lifetime. You can see even the can is starting to get pretty corroded. But I bet you that can has been underwater for 25 years. Still looks pretty good. But yeah, you can see it's falling apart. I mean, the ink, the printing looks good. I'm not sure why it'd be falling apart. I don't think aluminum oxidizes underwater. Not like iron. I don't think aluminum rusts. Does it? I should know that. Yeah, get all that dirt out of there. It's a hazy beer. Who knew? Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri, baby. They were making hazy Bud Lights back in the day. Ahead of their time. Bud Light is a beer ahead of its time. Just setting the stage for all the hazy IPAs. But yeah, I was back to the units. I was thinking, because I thought they were called the metrics, as I said. They're called SI units. And I was thinking, what in the world? What's the acronym there? Standard instrument? Standard? I couldn't think of it. And the video time was running out, so I just blurted out metrics. I cheated a little bit, did some Googling. It is indeed called SI units, but it's that's short or derived from International System of Units. The International System of Units, yes, SI, abbreviated from the French. There it is. Okay. I had a brief moment of terror there that I was completely wrong at everything I said. But no, this is first sentence in Wikipedia, International System of Units. So, the SI part comes from the French words for it. That makes sense. Okay. Yes, I don't like SI units when I dive, except for atmospheres. Because atmospheres are easy. So I talked about the tank pressure on the dive profile. The water pressure actually is fairly easy. So every 10 meters is another atmosphere pressure. So on the surface, sea level, you're sitting at 1 atmosphere pressure. That's all the way to the atmosphere on top of you. You go down just 10 meters in the water, which about 33 feet, and that's where my conversion's in. 66, 90, 99. After that, it's too much math. But you go down just 10 meters, and all the way to the water on top of you in 10 meters is all the weight of the air above you for like 120,000 feet, or however big the atmosphere is and where space begins. That just gives you an idea of how much more dense water is than air. And you feel it. So as you go down, you have to equalize your ears, and how that works is you basically have your outer ear, and any of you ENTs out there gonna fillet me for this, feel free to do so. But very basics of it are, you have your eardrum, and that separates the outside part where the outside world is, and then your eardrum, and then your inner ear. And as you go down, the pressure of the water squeezes that airspace, and that hurts inside your ear. So you have to, that air pocket behind your eardrum, you have to equalize with air, and you do that in a variety of ways. I have to hold my nose and blow pretty hard. Some people are lucky enough they can just wiggle their jaw, whatever, but you have to equalize that space so the pressure doesn't crush your ear, and it'll eventually blow your eardrum out if you don't do it. But what I'm trying to say is that first initial descent, that first 10 meters, is the hardest on your ears, because that's the biggest change in pressure. So you think about it, on the surface, everything's equalized. You go down 10 meters, you now have 2 atmospheres outside, 1 atmosphere inside your ear, so the pressure has doubled. Your eardrum would blow out before that actually happened. It's not a linear scale. So from surface to 10 meters down, the pressure doubles, but from 10 meters to 20 meters, you go from 2 to 3 atmospheres, the pressure only increases 50%. So it's a logarithmic scale that kind of smooths out as you go down. So if you went from 99 to 100 atmospheres, and you never actually dive that deep recreationally, but you probably wouldn't even feel it in your ears. But the idea is, as you go down, you want to equalize early and often, and once you get to a certain depth, about 50 or so, it stops becoming less of a thing as you go down. And of course, you have all this in reverse on the way back up. The air behind your eardrum expands as you go up, and if it gets stuck, that can be just as painful and just as dangerous as going down and not being able to force air or let air in the space behind your eardrum. So I've never had a problem on a reverse. It's called a reverse block. I've never had a reverse block or a problem going back up. I've had a few problems, nothing super serious, going down. Especially in my left ear, I have trouble equalizing that sometimes. I used to take Sudafed. That's a dirty little secret. You're not supposed to... Oh, look at me. I'm pretending like I know where I'm going again. Yeah, they warn you in the class, in the books, don't take Sudafed. I've learned that a lot of divers do. I won't name names. the whole idea behind that is, you know, Sudafed clears out your sinuses, and the whole idea is it's supposed to be easier to equalize. The two dangers of taking it are drugs can have different effects on you underwater, under pressure, and if the Sudafed wears off while you're underwater and you get congested, then you might have a reverse block on the way back up. But I tried it out, I took it for a while, I couldn't notice a difference one way or the other, so I just stopped taking it. But I do know that some divers still take it, and don't tell the dive police. Anyway, back to the dive. I've been rambling on about, and I said anyway again. Gonna stop it, promise. I've been rambling on about air pressure and depths and eardrums, and I haven't talked much about the dive because, well, look at this. There's just not much to talk about. Looks like we're higher up. We're probably, I've already turned on the way back to the boat. I'm guessing we're in the 50, 40, 30 foot range here based on the murk. This is where you just try not to get lost, separated from your buddy. And unless you just enjoy being underwater, which I do. But you're kind of thinking, okay, when is this dive gonna be over? I'm kidding, I love it. Even in murky water. It's dive in murky water in the Midwest, or don't dive at all. Those are your choices. Alright, we are definitely back in the shallows here. There's a fishy. I pointed it out. Did you see him? Yeah, like I said, the fish don't go into that cold water. So we're seeing fish, that means we're shallow. It's also less green here, and the visibility actually cleared up a little bit, it looks like. I'm checking out this fascinating rock in front of me. In fact, I'm checking my watch, we're kind of hanging out. This might be a safety stop, but I've got like 3 or 4 segments after this, so... I'm not sure. Oh, some of the other segments might be the water scooter. Should have a brief video of the water scooter. I haven't looked at it yet. Yeah, somebody brought a freaking water scooter. Oh, I was told to check under rocks for crayfish, so that's what I'm doing. Yeah, it's if you find a crayfish under here, the fish love you forever. In fact, I've dove a lake in Wisconsin called Devil's Lake. It's really a beautiful state park. There's hiking trails all around it. The lake is awesome. But the lake is kind of like this, murky. But the fish there, they're smart. They follow the divers around, and you put your hand on a rock, and they just surround it. They're just waiting for you to lift it up. They have learned that divers will lift up rocks for them and expose poor little hiding crayfish that come out when their rock has been removed from the top of their head, and the fish gobble them up. The fish in this lake haven't quite tamed the divers like that. But yeah, it's funny at the Devil's Lake to see that. Of course, I feel a little bad for the crayfish. They're just trying to hide out. What is that? Old bottom, or a can bottom, maybe? That could be the oldest beer can part yet. But, as you can see, I found no crayfish, and getting towards the end of the safety stop. Yes, as I correctly predicted in the last video, that was the safety stop, that was the end of the dive, and the rest of the segments in this video feature the water scooter. I did get around with it briefly. Honestly, I wasn't that impressed with it. Don't tell the owner, don't tell the people on this trip. Everybody loved it. I was just like, I could take or leave this thing. Still pretty cool to look at, try out, but I would never actually get one of these myself. So, my turn. You might be able to tell there's actually a GoPro mount on the front of this thing. Yeah, I took off for a little bit. Didn't feel like I was moving that well. And that was the end for me. Based on my experience with it here. Yeah, my dive buddy there, he enjoyed it. Is it my turn again? Okay. I don't even remember using it this much. Still not kicking. Yeah, I should have been kicking. I don't know. Not for me. Yeah, she asked if I was having trouble with it because I'm just not going anywhere. I don't know. I think I probably weigh too much for this thing to have much an effect on my movement through the water. Or I just wasn't cooperating with it. Trying to make it as hard as possible. Anyway.
Oh, that's cool. It's working.
That's it for dive number 3. See you at the next one. Peace.